Thanks very much. We've just got a few more bits to cover off today before we get into our music and drinking later on. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Jennie Sallows, who's Head of Insight at Curated, who's going to talk through another practical example, great practical example of behavioural science being applied without wishing to use Dave Trott's words for business advantage, but to generate some positive returns. Thanks very much. Oh, yes.
Thank you all. As Richard said, my name's Jenny and I head up Insight at Curated. And for those of you that don't work in advertising, we buy and sell posters. It is a big industry, believe it or not. I haven't worked in advertising really that long. I joined about 3.5 years ago. I came from the cosy world of the BBC and I worked in their market research department. And at the same time as I moved into the world of advertising, I came to the first ever Nudgestock. And I have a massive optimism bias. And I came back going, this is incredible. And I got really excited and I emailed Rory and said, oh my God, I want to get out of home to work in this and it's really, really incredible. So what I want to do for you people there is we've heard some really great academic speeches. But to give you the confidence to say in your role, and if you're passionate like it, that I am, if you work with the right people, it can work for you as well. And I am going to disagree with Dave Trott because what we are demonstrating to our clients is often out-of-home media or a poster was bought or sold on quite a rational basis. How cheap is it? How many eyeballs can I reach? But what we're demonstrating to our clients, so forming a point of difference, so we're the X, if you like to think, is if you take what you call this System 1 approach, we're being much more successful. And I'm going to do this by analysing this with one of my favourite books when I was a child, which was The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And I'm going to talk to you about some experiments that have come from advertising and from psychology, and then demonstrate how we have done this. So there's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. This is how I've rebranded it. It's a little bit messy, some of the stuff that we do, but you get to the whole point of it. So can you clap if you've heard of Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow? Well done, well done. Can you clap if you've read it? Good. Can you clap if you can remember the Gandhi experiment? Oh, that's good, because then I can explain it. And I loved this experiment, and it's really, really simple. And it does come back to the things of what I find work hardest is taking something that's quite simple and a truism and then applying it. So what they did, and this was in the 70s, is they had a group of people and they said to them, so was Gandhi older or younger than 9 years old when he died? Older. Was that true or false? And they said, so how old do you think he was when he died? And then to another group of people, they asked the same question, but they replaced 9 with 144. And this is all about how you frame and you anchor things. So the people that were shown the 9-year-old, they averaged an age of him dying in his 50s, whereas the people that were anchored with 144, they thought he died in his 80s. So this is already interesting, and then you look at it. And then I found this amazing research study that was done by Saatchi's in the 80s. I don't think they'd read this book, but it all parallels together. And they replaced Gandhi with a little black dress. And they replaced 144 with Vogue, and at the other end with Women's Weekly. And the challenge they were facing at the time was convincing clients about why they should put their advertising in Vogue. Not necessarily the audience, but the context. And a lot of this stuff is that advertisers go, well, we know it makes sense, but when you look at the nuts and bolts of it, it's like, well, why should we do it? So they had a similarly matched group of women. So they didn't take Vogue readers and Women's Weekly readers. They took a similar group, and to one of them, they got them to read Women's Weekly, and they put an ad of a black dress in. And then to a similar set matched people, they took the same ad, and they put it in Vogue. Now, people that read the ad or saw the ad in Vogue valued the dress at more than double. And I've seen this replicated time and time again. Now, I looked at both of these in terms of anchoring and framing, and a challenge that we have in our business is that posters are all in different shapes and different sizes, and you can have a poster that's on like a general high street, or you can have a poster that's in like a big iconic location. And then we have auditors that come down and they have things called grid rates, and they're going, well, why can't you buy it cheaper than that? And you work with great advertising, and there's a reason why you put things in a certain place, and there's a reason why it matters. But sometimes it's been quite difficult for us to put a value on it. So we had Gandhi in the 70s, then we had the little black dress in the 80s. So this year we replaced that with a watch. And we wanted to frame it for our media, and it was quite a simple experiment. So we took a fictional watch. And we spoke to people in Leeds and Manchester, and we had one that was in a Leeds and a Manchester location that people knew, because it's really, really important to know the context on what we call large format. That's how complicated my media gets. And then we took a general high street, but again, one they knew, and they made the advert smaller. And we asked them lots of questions, because you went to mask it and things like that. But at the end, we said, and how much is the watch worth? Now, we all know it's going to be worth more, else I wouldn't be here. But the value to which you can get is so much more. And it's really helping us of when we talk to clients to turn around and say, it isn't just about buying media the cheapest. You can buy online, you can buy through Xaxis, you can buy a big audience as cheaply as you can. Similarly for TV, you can just say, I just want to buy a GRP in as much as I can. And the cheapest media to buy an out of home is what's known as a tube car panel. But there are reasons why you want to buy it in different things. So I've done a really quick talk because I just want people to get enthused and to show that it's really nice seeing lots of clever people talk around stuff. But if you're passionate like I am, you can boil it down to some simple things and make it work. So we've done the dress test. My style is not to be particularly inventive, but to find things I like and then repurpose them. And there's another great thing that's called the ironing board test. And again, it was done by Saatchi's, and again, it's very, very simple. Radio was finding at that time that people weren't remembering or recalling radio ads, yet they knew they were having an impact. We know advertising works. We went on money laundering exercise, but they just couldn't understand how. So, because it was the 80s, it was a bit more sexist, so they only had women ironing. And in one room, they had some women ironing without listening to any radio, with ads on. And in the other room, they had people listening to music, but without any radio ads on. And at the end, they asked them some brand statements about how they felt. And even though people couldn't remember hearing the ads, they felt more positive towards the brand. So out-of-home media is an ad that works like that. I mean, you probably, hopefully, all noticed the Nudgestock ad if you came in by the train. That will be an ad that you remember tomorrow. But you are influenced by the ads that happen around you in quite a subliminal way. So I can't quite find the equivalent of that as being the Gandhi experiment. So if any of you clever psychologists like, it's obvious it's that, I'd be really interested to know. But it's also a bit of a rallying call because I need to work with clever people and I need to work with clever brands so they can take my enthusiasm. And I want to do more experiments. And I definitely see this as being a bit of a festival and a place where you can share ideas. So please come and talk to me. If you look in the newspaper, my email address is there. And I have an innovation pot so I can do more experiments like the dress test. So I'd just really like to hear your ideas. And thank you for your time.